Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Saint of War, Tensura x DxD, by Kischur Chapter 7. Asgard was currently in a state of semi-panic. The reason for this current state is because of the immense powers that they felt in their land, and they were about to respond to the immense power itself. Said immense power came to Asgard itself. And when they felt its power, they were prepared for any form of attack and started to speculate who the attacker is, but stopped when they saw a Valkyrie squad, an angel and then a boy staring at them with a cold look, and then stared at everyone like he was daring them to attack him. Seconds later, two immensely powerful power sources rushed towards the group, and with weapons on hand, and with killing intent fully flaring out, Seal went all out and intercepted the two, before they could touch any one of his current companions on Asgard. Boom! Asterisk with the sound of an explosion going off. Currently the three powerhouses was in a deadlock, not wanting to move from their initial spot. Because of this, and the massive power that they were releasing, trying to intimidate one another, was very high, to the point that high and ultimate class and below was just starting to go unconscious because of the immense powers that they were putting off. This too are quite something, Seal thought, since he hasn't really shown it to heaven itself, but in terms of power, he has already reached the peak of the enlightened stage, causing him to be at least in the low superclass tier in terms of power. But right now, right before him was two extremely powerful entities that surpassed even his current level of power by quite a lot. Even with the two of them showing equal power to him, he knows that they are holding back quite a lot at that. To this, Seal couldn't help but let out a smile that very much didn't fit his beautiful and gentle face. It even disturbed the two powerhouses before him, with the two shuddering and backing off a little at the disturbing smile that he let out. This too. Let's see where I stack up, Seal thought, wanting to fight this two entities before him, which has caused Jibril to look upon him with an uncertain look. While his curious nature is very well known in heaven, but something that wasn't known, because of his isolated nature and protected nature of Gabriel, was his nature of wanting to challenge the impossible and explore the unknown, and with power coming to him naturally as well, he has grown detached to it to some degree, especially since in terms of a battle, he has already everyone in heaven by far as well. But now, coming to the Norse pantheon, which is known for its competitive and battle-like nature, he was sure that he would find better quality fighters, but finding some already, and with the guards of Asgard being very well skilled as well, even though they're weaker to him in terms of power, he was sure that they were at least very skilled with their current stance suggesting to him. And with him already being attacked by two, very much more powerful entities, even surpassing Michael, who is in the upper levels of the throne-class angels, and with combat skills that he was sure was even greater than Michael as well. If both heaven and Asgard were to go to war with one another, Asgard might win the war, but even then, it is still a hard-won victory though, with heaven being one of, if not the best in defensive warfare. That was Ciel's honest opinion about Asgard, but then add in the fact that they could still be more warriors near or equal their level and even have the potential of being stronger as well, caused Ciel to be even more excited of that fact. Jibril, who was feeling Ciel's emotions, couldn't help but be worried for his mental health a little bit, but she did find it adorable that he is showing more and more of his emotions though. Well, with how protective of a parent Gabriel is, and with his own talents and current level of power being very much absurd for his age, it does make sense for him to try to showcase his power often, especially to those that he deems stronger than him. It was a desire that was repressed with the peaceful and calm atmosphere of heaven itself, but now with him leaving heaven, it has started to slowly manifest itself in Seal, with him wanting to fight more and more, to very much test his limits. But right now, with the momentary clash being done, it did grant Jibril time to assess both of their attackers. The first one that got her attention was a female, with her having white hair and blue eyes, with her having beauty that was reminiscent to that of an angel as well, with her wearing a horn-like hairpin on her head along with a yellow and black cape with the Valkyrie logo on it, yellow, black and white clothes, a black armband, black gloves, a yellow belt, black shorts and black and yellow thigh-high boots. And at her hand was that of a lance of white and black, which completely gives of a sign of both death and life itself, which caused Jibril to reel in fright at what she sensed. That woman is Brunhilda. The other one that clashed with Seal was a male, with him having white hair and blue eyes, with him having the more rough and handsome looked, that would captivate quite a few females because of it, with him wearing blue long jacket that held the Valkyrie logo, with a yellow combat shirt, blue jeans and black boots. And with a greatsword that is releasing heat and fire on an extremely high level, that it gave off the feeling of having the sun itself in the form of a sword. It caused Gibril to become extremely worried for Seal. That man is Siegfried, Gibril thought. While she wants to help Seal fight off the two, she knows very much that she would just be a hindrance in this fight. With how weak she is, she would just be a weakness to be taken advantage of. Especially against the strongest Valkyrie and Paladin, who both wield divine weapons at their disposal, and with them having their warrior culture as well, and with the two standing on the top layer of said culture, already says a lot about their current combat skills already. In terms of power, the two are very much stronger than Seal, with Siegfried being a saint stage human, and having trained and battled for centuries in the Norse pantheon, and Brunhilda being the strongest Valkyrie on the S-rank stage and said to be equal or slightly stronger than Siegfried. No matter how I see it, Seal would lose if he sticks in being an enlightened stage. While Gibril was completely stressed about the current situation, the trio of combatants was currently readying themselves for anyone to start it first before the other fights. But suddenly, a huge bolt of lightning then struck down the area in between the three, stomping them from a potential conflict, and easing the soldiers and Valkyries as well in the area at the sign of both the lightning and the powers within it, fully knowing who the people are that intervene. Seal and Gibril, sensing this, couldn't help but both shake in fear at the two superpowers that they sense inside of the lightning, with Ciel's desire to get stronger also rapidly heightening as a result of the huge powers in front of him. So this is the potential power I could acquire when I reached the saint stage then. It's truly quite something to witness, Seal thought while relaxing himself a bit, but not to match if there is a potential conflict that he doesn't really mind ending with him in prison or being punched in the face as well. Well, I'm the one who suddenly went to Asgard without notice and returned with a beaten-up star Valkyrie after all, Seal thought while fully realizing his mistake in the matter, and he should have just waited for her to wake up. When the smoke and some lightning sparks vanished, both Seal and Gibril was able to see the two powerhouses of the Norse pantheon, Odin Borson, the All-Father, and Odin Odinson, the Thunderer, with Thor standing at Odin's guard. Odin has the appearance of an old man, with him having long gray hair and bare, and an eye patch in his right eye, and despite appearing to be older than 60 or 70 years of age, he still has the appearance of a professional fighter to boot, with him wearing a fancy golden armor and a red cape, and on hand with him is a golden spear. Thor has an appearance of an adult, with him having long blonde hair, black armor that has lightning surging through it, a red cape and two raven birds on his shoulders, and of course at his hand is his ever-powerful weapon of destruction, Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. The two were unleashing power that completely dwarfed the trio from before, to the point that it made them be looked at as children if they were to be compared to this gods. It even made Seal a bit nervous at their power. Thor, who saw everything, just looked at Seal and the others, and sighed. Heimdall, you could have easily solved this misunderstanding, Thor thought, completely hating on the god for the mess that he could have potentially solved for himself. Heimdall, the head of the defense department of Asgard, with him being known as the Sentry of Asgard, is someone that is able to monitor anyone in the 9 realms of Asgard, with him being the one in charge of letting who enters Asgard as well, so Thor was sure that Heimdall fully knows of the current mess. And besides that, both Brunhilda and Siegfried is far too scared and emotional for them to think straight. Well, Thor wouldn't really criticize them for it, since if his own daughter is put on the same spot, he too was sure that he would battle the brat that did all of this, even if it would cause the destruction of Asgard in the process. Odin, who by now has calmly looked at everyone to ease the tension and pull back their weapons and power, he then immediately looked at Seal, who too decided to do the same as well, and with that he then signaled both Brunhilda and Siegfried, "You two, get your daughter and the Valkyries and interrogate the Valkyries to acquire their side of the story. As for you, guest from heaven, I would like to speak you two personally." To this Seal and Gibril just bowed down obediently, not wanting to cause heaven even more trouble. "As you wished, All-Father." Ha 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 ha. When the four entered the throne room for questioning on why one of their star Valkyries has been defeated in battle and the forceful enter of Asgard itself without notification, Thor laughed very loudly upon hearing the entire story, with Odin just looking at his son with a dry look but didn't said anything to him either. Ha 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 ha. I knew that girl is a battle maniac, but I didn't know she would also project her eagerness for battle that matched as well to that of an allied faction. Thor very much believed what the boy and Angel said, since for one, angels aren't good liars, and that the boy before him isn't even trying to hide anything as well, with him honestly answering. And even if he is lying, Odin would very well picked it up, with him learning a thing or two from Loki himself, so he would know when someone would lie, and seeing that Odin didn't do anything and accepted everything as the truth, Thor was very much convinced that this is the true story as well. Odin, who didn't sense any lie whatsoever, also believed them, but not wholeheartedly, since despite his skills and knowledge, he's still second only to Loki himself in terms of lie detection and the likes, so he decided to send this memory to him in a latter time to see if what he said is true. Of course he wouldn't send it right away, for Bianca and her Valkyries' stories also needs to take into account as well. Of course there are possibilities of the Valkyries trying to paint themselves in good light, but he was sure that both Brunhilda and Siegfried wouldn't fall for it, and that Bianca is far too scared of her parents to actually lie and would just straight up tell the truth as well, so either way, he wouldn't do anything to them though, since from what he could gather, Seal and Gibril is innocent.
Well, I can't say you two are good to be left go, considering the mess that you did for Asgard, but I wouldn't punish you for it, since it is very small as well, so we shall only let you go back to Earth when Bianca wakes up and gives her statements. For that reason, you two will be loosely monitored in your stay in Asgard. Hearing his verdict, the two was both surprised and relieved at such light sentences, but didn't question it, not wanting to be left with an even bigger possible punishment. Thank you for your mercy, All-Father. Thor guided them to the Kazlana estate. HMPH. Fine. After their short trial, the trio then went to the place that was designated as the Kazlana estate, with both Seal and Gibril looking around in curiosity, about the people, the different races and the architecture. And add in the fact that, the further and further they went into this direction, the more and more warriors and trainees they saw, with there also being a lot of sparing areas, or even just plain old battles happening in the middle of the streets as well, and in all of this, Seal silently watched all of them in silent wonder. He saw many were as old as him, many even younger than him, and a lot of people that are older than him fighting as well, with them all having varying levels of power and proficiency. Thor, who saw this and saw the wonder in his eyes, couldn't help but smile at this. I see, so this guy is also a battle maniac, but more of a controlled one that just wants to fight the greatest opponent, Thor thought while also comparing him to their own genius. While Bianca is someone that wants to fight everyone, no matter if they're weaker, equal or stronger than her, believing that each one of her battles would grant her ways to improve and get stronger, making her earn more and more fights and battle records. Seal, on the other hand, doesn't want to fight people of equal or weaker strength than him, with him very much wanting to fight the stronger opponent, with him coming to believe that it would grant him an advanced experience for fighting stronger opponents. One wants to fight everyone, while the other just wants to fight a specific level of opponents. This is very interesting. Bianca would definitely want to fight this boy once more. With that, the trio then walked patiently towards the Kazlana estate, of course with some people talking to the trio, mainly with Thor, or just straight up fighting Seal to have a one-night stand with Gibril, which Seal just casually beat said individuals without much effort. Even the gods wasn't spared and was solidly handled them without much effort whatsoever, causing the audience that watched said duels to cheer on the boy for his strength and skills, with Thor even creating a betting pool, while Gibril was just sent to be in a flushed state because of the fighting for her body. After that, a few minutes of battle, the trio then moved towards the Kazlana estate, and when they arrived, it was completely different to what Seal actually thought it would look like. In truth, the entire Asgard was different to what he thought it looked like, since Asgard itself looked like it is a floating disk in space, with there having a golden palace and throne room, with the architecture being more so of Norwegian descent, but from what he could gather from the Kazlana estate, it more so looked like an architecture one could see in Western Europe. In essence, the Kazlana estate is a massive mansion, with it being fenced, with there being about 4 floors from what Seal could tell, with it being extremely large, with the only thing that is stopping them physically is a giant gate that separate them. Of course, from what he could tell, there are some high-level runes being deployed as well to strengthen the fences, and that there are numerous barriers as well that protects it from magic and someone trespassing by jumping over the fence. With that, Thor then banged his hammer to the gate, causing small lightning bolt to fly through the house, and a few seconds later, the door opened, with the appearance of a disheveled Bianca opening it. Seal and Gibril, seeing her new form, couldn't help but be surprised by her current appearance, especially since her previous appearance was quite elegant in the first place as well. Bianca, seeing Seal, She immediately bolted towards him with a happy smile, seeing her fated rival show up in front of her house. Seal. Fight me. With that, the gate opened and Bianca redid her attack. Bam. Asterisk. But before she could do anything, Seal just decided to finish her before she could get hurt more, and with that stumped the ground below him and then get a strong straight punch to her chest, which has caused the impact zone to appear like it sink in itself, and with such a powerful blow to her body, she was once again blown back to the front of the estate. The duo of Angel and God, seeing this, couldn't help but feel sorry for the Valkyrie. So Seal could have easily defeated her if he actually wanted to in their first confrontation, Jibril thought while looking at the Valkyrie. That would also give her trouble in a head-on fight, and then to Seal in both in awe and afraid at what he is capable of currently. Just how powerful would you be if you improved even more now? Single quote. Kind of harsh. Don't you think, brat? Thor commented, not really seeing anything wrong with the attack, since he only retaliated after all, and in truth he was actually quite excited on what effects he would have towards the young rising star of the Valkyrie Order as well. No. Besides, this would be good for her. After all, she has gotten stronger, even if a little, in just a few minutes after recovering and waking up. Hey. Quote. Jibril, hearing his words, couldn't help but let out a stupefied voice and face at what he has said about Bianca. Seal, who saw Bianca once again, was sure of it. She's stronger, even if it's a little, but still having gotten stronger through defeat. It might be because of a bloodline or a power that she has, or what, but from what I could tell, that type of opponents must be eliminated first if they're enemies, and if they're an ally, they must be nurtured to reach said full potential. This is very interesting. The Norse pantheon truly are the birthplace of the finest of warriors. Bianca, you just waken up and you're already unconscious. Who hurt you? I swear, I will the bastard this so. Quote. Siegfried, who was originally opposed to Seal and tried to fight him, was currently holding and taking care of her, with great care and loved, with numerous other maids and butlers going his side while taking care of their young master. Siegfried, who gave his daughter to the professionals, then looked towards Seal with burning rage in them. You. With an accusing finger he raised his power as much as he can currently, to try to intimidate the boy. You will pay for the pain you have caused to my baby girl. For that reason I will have my revenge. Quote. And right before he could jump and fight the boy, a wooden spoon came in and swung towards his head, causing him to crash to the pavement and causing a crater in place, and an unconscious Siegfried as well. Seeing this, Jibril couldn't help but gave a nervous look and then saw the culprit, which is Brunhilda, who currently didn't have her Valkyrie uniform, but a casual outfit with an apron. Really, dear? Just knowing Bianca's personally, you should already know that she was the one that instigated the fight, especially the account that she said about the boy as well. Geez. Sometimes I don't know what to do with you, Brunhilda commented with a tone of annoyance, but some of the more acute people in the audience that saw, did heard a fond and loving tone as well though. Brunhilda then took a step over her currently unconscious husband and then greeted her guest. Hello. Lord Thor and the guest from the Heaven faction. Sorry for the mess that my daughter and husband has caused you, she apologized, with her bowing down to Seal and Jibril for their forgiveness, while her husband was being taken away by the servants to be checked in the medic of the household. Seal then silently looked at Jibril to take care of this conversation, since despite his inherent maturity, he still doesn't know many innate things, like having a conversation and things, since he mostly talked to his mother and the other archangels, and occasionally talked to other angels, and even then the angels talked to him like he is the superior one though. So, in a talk between equals, he is entirely bad at it, not knowing what to say in this type of situation, since his mother hasn't taught him that, or the library hasn't shown anything of this as well. Jibril, who saw this, only nodded and then decided to speak for Seal. It's quite alright, since we did hurt your daughter after all, so Lord Siegfried's retaliation should have been known to us as well, so it is entirely our own fault for his actions. Jibril decided to leave out Bianca entirely, seeing that the girl needs to be taught a lesson for her lack of impulse control, and considering Brunhilda's personality right now, she was sure that she would take the hint and do something about it. Brunhilda, hearing her words, could only let out a smile at that. That's wonderful, and I will have a word in with Bianca in a few moments. Well, anyway, as for why have you come here to visit? She asked, wanting to know the reason for this two guests to visit her home. If it was to apologize for Bianca's injuries, she doesn't really see it as their fault, since it was Bianca's desire to fight that caused Seal to also fight her out of curiosity. Well, that is what she said though, Brunhilda thought. In truth, Seal to her is an enigmatic figure itself, a boy that is no older than 7 years old already on the level of power that very well surpassed her own daughter. Who by the way is one of the greatest geniuses in combat in the last 10 millenniums, with her acquiring power that, if measured in the biblical pantheon, would be in the seraph, Satan rank of power. And so seeing and hearing all of this, and with how easy he defeated Bianca, and with him holding his own against her and Siegfried's first attack, she was already convinced that he is either peak seraph class or in the low ranges of super angel class. He might acquire more power in this upcoming war, and evolved into a saint. Brunhilda thought about the boy. In truth, she felt like something was different from the boy from other enlightened humans, not because of his power mind you, there are plenty of humans in the past that has reached the same level of power as he, with the most famous being Gautama Buddha. But even then, she felt like he is something that an enlightened human shouldn't become, but considering that the All-Father hasn't said anything to her first, or that Thor himself isn't saying to her at all, means that they either know but doesn't want to say anything yet, or doesn't know at all. Lord Odin must know, thanks to the wisdom he acquired from Mimir's well.
He would very much stay silent to not cause a possible information leak. For Lord Thor, despite acquiring knowledge from Mimir's well, as well he is by far in way not as smart or perceptive as Lord Odin, but his instincts and sixth sense is very much very powerful, bordering the line of future sight now. So he should have some feel about what sort of difference Seal has over other enlightened humans. Brunhilda was sure that Thor knows something at least, even if it's a little, he should know something. Brunhilda. His looking at Seal with quite a bit of intensity. Jibril thought, noticing the intense gaze. I must see further and report to Lady Gabriel immediately.
With that the four then went inside the house, with Brunhilda fixing the wall that was destroyed when Bianca came flying towards the wall. This is a nice place. Right. It's why many paladins and Vikings are very much jealous of Siegfried. When the four entered, they immediately entered the dining room, with Brunhilda immediately going to the kitchen to finish up her cooking, while the small party of a human, angel and god, silently sat down, very much enjoying the cozy atmosphere of the Kazlana estate. Despite being the house of the strongest Valkyrie and paladin, it has an amazing cozy feel to it, almost rivaling Gabriel's room itself, which is something that Seal quite like about as well, with him feeling quite nostalgic, despite only leaving his mother's side in about a day. Well, considering that Bianca would very well released her statement and knowing her reaction of you is quite positive, it is very much safe to say that you will be cleared of suspicious, so what do you two like to do? Quote. Oh, you will grant us access to locations that would allow us to explore and learn from the Norse. Quote. Quote. When questioned by Jibril, Thor couldn't say anything to her, since he doesn't know if his father would allow it, especially since the numerous attempts that they have done to hide numerous secrets that is the key to their current success and power. What would father done here? But considering that I would be returning to the palace, I could at least inform them of the possibility of it though, Thor thought, since despite being known as a battle maniac, and a person that would disregard the positions of factions pantheons to just have a nice battle, what he wouldn't do about all else is to bring Asgard down due to his own mess, and considering that his own words and promises might do it right now, he decided to think for a moment before giving in a word at least to them.
I don't know about that, but I would inform the All-Father of your possibility of exploring and learning from the Norse. It is primarily his decision if Asgard would allow it after all. Thor gave his reason to Jibril, who immediately nodded, since she also knows the current situations from heaven, with their numerous secrets and such. It's quite understandable, since even heaven has numerous secrets that they don't want the world to learn about as well, so it's quite understandable and would be unfair if we are to force our way in. Nods. I'm quite happy of your understanding, and besides everyone has secrets after all. Well anyway, since Brunhilda wouldn't be finished cooking for another few minutes, I might be able to give you 2 pieces of harmless information, if you two were to like it. Thor offered, and before Jibril could say anything, Seal beat her to the punch. That is quite acceptable. I would like to know how Asgard is made. The two adults couldn't help but be surprised by Ciel's question. To know the creation of a realm or faction home is considered a secret after all by the supernatural world, with them keeping it tightly sealed, not wanting the secret to get out. Thor, who recovered from his surprised expression from Ciel, then looked at him and said, You do know that such a thing is very much a secret, right? Which most faction wouldn't want to reveal. Thor asked, wanting to know what Seal would get from this sort of information. Is actually a secret if most factions actually has a realm for their own? If so, then it isn't much of a closely guarded secret as you said, you know? Seal countered Thor, who only stared away for a moment to think further. Jibril, who was looking at this, couldn't help but looked away and then looked at the Brunhilda for a moment, noticing that she too was carefully listening on their conversation. Well, considering that we are still not a part of the faction, it does make sense for her to try to be on guard against us. But why do I feel like something else is afoot here? Jibril thought. In truth, she doesn't really intended to hide this conversation, since it would cause suspicious to be thrown to them if she does try to do something, and for the record it would be Thor's fault if he were to give secretive information to Seal. Brunhilda, who was listening to all of this, she couldn't help but silently sigh at what was happening before her. Is it truly fine to leave the two of them together? If so, I'm pretty sure that Lord Thor would reveal some sensitive information because of Ciel's own words. She couldn't help but thought while continuing her cooking, well anyway, I should only stop their conversation if Lord Thor would say anything he shouldn't have. And so time flied by them, mostly with Ciel questioning Thor about many things about Asgard and its creation. Of course, most of his questions was harmless and just pure on curiosity, like the history of the place and how things like the Valkyrie Order was created. After a few minutes, the rest of the Caslana family then came in to join them for a lovely dinner.